Please like the video, subscribe my channel. The weight of holding on. Lucas once believed the hardest thing in life was achieving something. Success, love, recognition, stability. He chased all of it with determination. But one quiet night, sitting alone in his apartment, he realized something unexpected. Getting is not the hardest part. Letting go is. Because when you gain something, your ego feels satisfied. When you let go, your soul is tested. Lucas and the illusion. For years, Lucas had been holding on to people who gave him half-hearted attention, to friendships that felt one-sided, to dreams that no longer aligned with who he was becoming. And most of all, he was holding on to Sophie. Sophie never fully chose him, but she never completely left either. She kept him in between, not close enough to feel secure, not far enough to move on. Lucas kept telling himself, maybe she'll change. Maybe tomorrow she'll understand. Maybe one day she'll see my worth. But maybe is the most dangerous lie the mind tells the heart. The fear of being alone. Deep down, Lucas knew something was wrong. He felt smaller around her, quieter, less certain. Yet he stayed. Why? Because he was afraid of being alone. His mind whispered, at least someone is there. But his soul responded, being with the wrong person is far lonelier than being alone. Slowly, something inside him began to shrink. His words felt lighter. His feelings felt like burdens. His presence felt optional. And one night, staring at his reflection, he asked himself, am I even necessary in her life? That was the most dangerous question of all. Because when a person begins to doubt their own worth, the soul starts to ache. The turning point. This mind tried to trap him. You've already invested so much time. If you leave now, it will all be wasted. What if no one else comes? The mind clings to history. The soul listens to truth. And the truth was simple. If someone doesn't value you while you're there, they won't suddenly value you when you're gone. That realization hurt. But pain has a strange way of clearing illusions. The empty space when Lucas finally let go. It didn't feel empowering. It felt empty. There were no dramatic speeches. No revenge glow up. No immediate peace. Just silence. And in that silence, fear surfaced. Who am I without trying to prove myself? Who am I without chasing someone's approval? For the first time in years, Lucas had no one to impress, no one to convince, no one to wait for. He was alone. But slowly, he realized something profound. The loneliness wasn't outside. It was the absence of distraction inside. And beneath that silence, there was relief. Choosing himself. Letting go wasn't weakness. It was courage. Courage to face his fears. Courage to release what no longer respected him. Courage to stand without emotional crutches. He understood something deeply. Life does not tolerate empty space for long. When you release what diminishes you, you create room for what honors you. But you must open your hands first. You cannot receive anything new while gripping what is already gone. A new presence with time. Lucas changed. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But deeply. He no longer begged to be understood. He no longer shrank to fit someone else's comfort. He no longer asked, what am I to you? Instead, he knew who he was to himself. And that made all the difference. He learned to love without clinging, to care without losing himself, to walk away without hatred. Some people left his life. Some stayed. But none of them determined his worth anymore. The quiet freedom. There came a day when Lucas noticed something subtle. He wasn't chasing. He wasn't proving. He wasn't afraid. He simply was. No desperation in his eyes. No fear of loss in his chest. No hunger for validation in his voice. He had stopped holding on to others and started holding himself. And in that stillness, Life felt lighter. Because in the end, you don't lose what was never truly yours. And when you finally stop gripping what hurts you, you discover something extraordinary. You were always whole. The space after letting go was only the beginning. What came next was harder. Silence. No messages to wait for. No emotional roller coasters. No sudden highs followed by quiet disappointments. Just stillness. At first, Lucas didn't know what to do with it. He reached for his phone out of habit. He almost texted Sophie more than once. His fingers would hover over her name. But this time, he stopped himself, not out of anger, out of awareness. He finally understood. Going back to what hurt you does not heal loneliness. It only postpones growth. Meeting himself without distraction, Lucas began meeting someone unfamiliar, himself. He noticed how often he had shaped his personality to keep peace. How often he had swallowed words to avoid conflict. How often he had accepted less just to avoid emptiness. It wasn't Sophie who had abandoned him. He had been abandoning himself. That realization was uncomfortable, but it was freeing too. Because if he had the power to abandon himself, he also had the power to return. The return wasn't dramatic. It happened in small decisions. He said no without explaining too much. He stopped over-apologizing. He allowed people to misunderstand him without rushing to correct them. For the first time, he let discomfort exist. He let people leave without chasing them. He let silence remain silent. And something unexpected happened. The right people didn't disappear. They adjusted. A new kind of love. Months later, Lucas met Clara. She was different. Not because she was perfect, but because she was present. She listened without making him feel small. She disagreed without disrespecting him. She stayed consistent without keeping him guessing. But this time, Lucas was different too. He didn't cling. He didn't rush. He didn't try to prove his worth. He simply showed up as himself. And if Clara had walked away, he would have been okay. That was the real growth. Love without fear. Connection without desperation. Presence without possession. The deeper realization known. Evening, sitting alone again. But peacefully this time, Lucas understood something profound. Letting go wasn't about losing someone. It was about losing the version of himself that tolerated less than he deserved. The loneliness he once feared had transformed into solitude. And solitude was not empty. It was full of clarity. Full of strength. Full of quiet confidence. The shift. Lucas no longer asked, "Will they stay?" He asked, "Do I feel respected here? Do I feel calm here? Can I be honest here?" If the answer was no, he walked away sooner. Not angrily, not dramatically. Just peacefully. Because he had learned something most people learn too late. When you stop begging for space in someone else's life, you finally create space in your own. And now, whether someone came or left, Lucas remained grounded, whole, unshaken. Because he was no longer trying to be chosen. He had already chosen himself. Part 3. When life tests your peace, growth feels powerful. Until life decides to test it. Almost a year after Lucas had rebuilt himself, something unexpected happened. The company he had worked for, the place where he had finally begun to feel stable, announced sudden layoffs, and Lucas was on the list. No warning, no gradual transition, just one meeting, one conversation, one sentence. Your position has been eliminated. For a moment, everything inside him went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Shock. The old voice returns that night. The old voice came back. The same one that once told him to hold onto Sophie. The same one that feared abandonment. It whispered, "You're not enough. You lost again. You'll end up alone and unsuccessful." Fear doesn't disappear forever. It waits for moments of weakness. And this was one of them. Lucas sat in his apartment, the same place where he had once learned to let go, and felt uncertainty crawl into his chest. He had chosen himself. He had grown. He had found peace. So why did this hurt so much? Understanding the difference, then something subtle happened. Instead of running from the discomfort, he stayed with it. He didn't call 10 people for validation. He didn't blame the company. He didn't spiral into panic. He simply sat with the fear. And he realized something important. Pain is natural. Suffering is attachment. Losing a job hurts. But attaching your identity to that job destroys you. This time, he didn't confuse the two. Clara's reaction when Lucas told Clara he expected pity. Instead, she looked at him calmly and asked, "What do you want to do next? Not what will people think, not how will this look, not are you scared, just what do you want?" And for the first time in his life, he didn't answer from fear. He answered from truth. "I don't want to rush into something, just to feel secure." That sentence alone showed him how much he had changed. The old Lucas would have grabbed the first opportunity just to avoid uncertainty. This Lucas trusted the process.